Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Road to Grandmaster series. This is episode 48. And this is the sixth round of the Labor Day GM Norm Round Robin tournament in New York City, which has not gone very well so far. And I gotta tell you, just on a human level, making recaps where you lose every single game, that's tough. I do not have the ego to keep on doing it. Something's got to change. In this game, I was playing against Samrug Narayanan, who I remember as being like a child. Now he's either 18 or 19 years old, which is kind of scary. I guess that's what happens. You just go up in age. I've seen him at tournaments for many years. Now I am playing him. And Samrug plays the advanced Caro-Kann with e4, c6, d4, d5, e5. Just like the Chirilov game. So before the tournament, I decided that against Chirilov, I would play bishop f5. And against Samrug, I would play c5. So that was my plan. So I played bishop f5 against James. It was a very interesting game, which ultimately I lost. If I hadn't lost that game, maybe the tournament would have gone differently. The confidence would have been different, something like that, but it is what it is. I played c5 in this game, and I had looked at a couple of his games online. He, not online, over the board. And he generally was taking this pawn, which is the main line, and after e6, he was doing something. But before the game, I was like thinking, what if he plays knight f3, which I faced in Italy in the game against the Polish woman? Jarocka, he played knight f3. So I guessed his opening. And so I needed to prepare something. In Italy, I played bishop to g4. She went dc, knight c6, c3, this game. And then actually the Chirilov game, remember, looked very similar. But I figured he would have seen that game. He strikes me as a guy who prepares, so I didn't want him to show up with some super obscure engine idea, which I would play right into. And so I played the main move in this position, which is pawn takes d4. And now there is queen d4, knight c6, queen f4. This is a very trendy modern line. You have to know a lot of ideas here, a lot of openings. A lot of openings, a lot of theory. But I also kind of had a feeling he would play knight takes d4. This is actually quite an annoying line because black is now sort of forced to play knight c6. And recently what a lot of grandmasters do is they go takes, and then they play bishop d3. So you can't develop your bishop easily. So then you have to play e6, and then you have to play a5 and bishop a6. And basically, like, black has to know about 15 to 17 moves of theory, and the position's kind of dreary and boring, and black kind of plays for a draw. I mean, I don't really think white has anything substantial either. But I was like, I can't believe I guessed that he was going to do this. I just, like, before the game, I was like, I'm having a bad tournament. How can the chess gods laugh at me even more? Oh, they can give me the colonoscopy variation of the Caro-Kann. They're like the most annoying and painful system. And then he played bishop e3. And I sat there like, what is this? Like, I was like, okay, I mean, he played it instantly. It must be prep, right? It must be something. He must have looked at this. And I spent quite a bit of time here trying to figure things out, like where to put my pieces. And again, you know, bishop d3 is played, so there is no bishop f5. But bishop f5 now is not great because he will immediately start, you know, attacking my pawn and stuff. That's what I thought. Of course, I can play the way you would play normally, but I was trying to take advantage of, like, I was thinking, okay, queen c7. Like, how's he going to defend his pawn? I guess he's going to go f4. Maybe I can play knight h6. Maybe I can play g5. Like, I can be really aggressive. And, you know, I have to say, I already lost the psychological battle of this game on this move. Because my first instinct was to play knight h6 and just immediately go for the, you know, the bishop. If he takes, the pawn might be stranded in the center. I might get the open g-file here. I evaluated this position as maybe, like, slightly better for me. It's just a fat -1. Like, it's just completely better for me because he just gave up the bishop pair and the g-file. So I didn't really evaluate that too correctly. And, you know, even queen c7, f4, knight h6 looks pretty reasonable. A lot of things look reasonable, and ultimately I played e6 after spending about 12 and a half minutes because I decided, okay, he's going to play knight d2 and bishop d3 anyway, and remember, bishop d3 is the main move, so it's just going to, you know, like, why would I... And I just had that disaster in the opening against Barbosa, so I decided I'm not going to play like some super creative way, I'm just going to play solidly. Which is, again, that's not how I play chess. I mean, And I think at this point I started realizing, like after this game, it took a toll because previously I've made content on this channel and I've been like losing in tournaments and I'm down and I'm sad. And in this tournament, I was never really down and sad. Like I kind of always believed I would show up to the next game and I would win or at least get a good position. I had some confidence. But this game I played like I had no confidence. I was like totally in, like not even in denial. I just wasn't even, I'll give you another example. So I played e6. And again, he's playing these moves really pretty quickly. So here I played knight g6. And what I intended to do on knight g6 is that, you know, if he plays f4, I was going to start counterplay on the other side of the board, like maybe c5, c4, whatever, bishop b7, c5, whatever. If knight f3, I wanted to play bishop a6, which I thought was a cool move. He can't really take it because queen a5 check and I win the bishop back. I guess he could castle and then maybe bishop takes. Maybe his idea is c takes. But also on knight f3, I was even thinking I could play maybe f6. Like I could like, or queen c7. Like it's kind of hard to defend this pawn. So here's something funny. I played knight g6 and here I saw a move that I didn't even consider and he played it queen h5. And immediately, because I hadn't really considered this move, I immediately was like, oh no, I missed something. But like, what did I miss? I mean, the queen is active. And yeah, if I like castle this way and play like an idiot, like, you know, I'm probably going to get checkmated, right? But once he played queen h5, I just foreshadowed that I was going to get checkmated. Like I don't really know why. So here I spent some time on the move pawn to d4, which is kind of a funny move to try to maybe play queen d5. So bishop g5, queen d5. But he can just lose this pawn because I have nothing developed. It's actually a very nice position for white. But then I thought bishop e7. The reason I didn't go for this is because I was like, he just takes and castles. And I thought originally knight f4 is a good move. It's not. I mean, he's just much better here. I mean, c6 is also hanging, but let's just say, like, for example, this is just a terrible position. His knight goes straight to d6, and I have a horrendous piece setup. So d4 is no good. Then I started looking at f5. I thought f5 was kind of a creative move, but I think he can just take, and I don't have a lot of development, so I didn't know what to do. Like, queen c7 I also considered, but then after f4, I didn't really know where I was going to put the rest of my pieces. Well, apparently, I can just play bishop to e7. And what this move does is after d4, he doesn't have bishop g5 anymore. It sets up the move d4. And if he stomps the move d4 with the move c3, well, then castling, yes, castling is always bad. But as long as I don't castle, as long as I play like c5 and rook b8 and just make moves that aren't castling and just improve my position, the computer actually thinks black is better, which is insane. Because the speed at which that he was playing and how confidently he went for this setup, which I had never seen before. I'd never seen this setup. I'd never seen anybody play bishop e3, and it's literally almost never been played. So either he knew something I didn't, or he just bluffed. I don't know. This is like opening theory, and especially when you're a half out of 5, let me tell you right now, if you ever play a chess tournament, a lot of you, you play online, you haven't made that switch to competitive over-the-board chess, let me tell you something. I talked to someone who started playing chess online and then played it over the board. There was nothing quite like it. If you have half a point out of 5 games, you're not going to trust yourself much. So I said, you know what? Here's what I'm going to do. Let's trade the queens. Queen h4. We trade, he castles. And again, right now, I can choose to play a bit more actively with moves like pawn to c5, trying to play for pawn to c4. He might stop that with b3. Then I bring the knight back, and then I play and develop and everything. And I wanted to play c5. I really did. I considered it. He can play c4, but this is a very powerful central blockade here. He could play bishop e4, but it's never a particularly good move. He move his bishop, bishop e4, whatever. So if he plays c3, I just, bring the knight back, bishop e7, castle, bishop d7, like just play like normal game of chess. For reasons I can't fully explain, I went knight f5 instead, pretty fast, because after bishop takes, pawn takes, I was like, well, he's going to go here and try to take control of my dark squares. I'm going to bring some pieces to the middle and hold the position. I'm like, just going to stabilize. So he went knight b3, I went bishop e7, he played rook e1. I realized his idea was for me to castle and to go here and to try to have a dominant knight and then like build up on the dark squares and just be slightly better. So rook e1, I went bishop e6, he went bishop c5. And I could have created counterplay here with some pawns, like the computer likes a5, which, I mean, obviously I saw a5, but somehow I thought this was creating more of a weakness. Like I thought if the pawn was back, I could move my rook, whereas if the pawn is up, engine disagrees. It thinks a5 is good. I went king d7 because I thought if he's going to trade, now I'm going to bring my rook. My bishop is passive, but it's like doing its job. I mean, I have considered making progress on the other side of the board, but somehow felt that the game was going to happen here, so why would I just shovel my pawns forward? I didn't really think he wanted to play f4 anyway. So I went king d7. He took, and he put his knight on c5, which I was like, what? I didn't understand. I was like, knight c5, what about rook b8? Now he went b3, and here I was like, what is he doing? I'm just going to go rook b5 and kick his knight out. Like, what just happened? So here I couldn't understand what he was doing at all. I thought he was like making pretty bad moves, and my confidence was back. As you can tell from me playing pretty fast here, my confidence was back. And now, my plan is rook c8, my plan is c4. Like, if anything, I'm going to play for a win. I have the bishop. So once I gain some space, like just to kind of illustrate, like once I get a little bit more space, every piece is going to start getting improved. So he played a4, and originally my plan here had been let him take the pawn. The reason I didn't go for this is because after knight takes c5, and something like rook c8, actually I thought he might play a5 maybe. Maybe this is, no, but then I go back to b5. Rook b6, knight c5. Maybe I was thinking like rook c6, there is b4. So rook c8. And I thought like he would take my bishop, I would take, and he would protect his pawn on e2. But this is a better endgame for black because he's so passive. Like he's just completely passive. He could play rook c1, but I just go here. And I'm not even joking. Like, I don't lie in these recaps about things that go through my head. I saw this again. I mean, I saw that I could just give the pawn up, and if he doesn't take the pawn, like he goes f4, well, then I play c4, or rook c8 and c4. He kind of has to take the pawn, and now I'm getting played down the c file, and I'm sitting here like I have been for the past few games, and I mean, I'm in shock I didn't play this. I don't know what I did or didn't see. It's poor calculation, it's poor decision making, but it's also just like it's so psychological. I mean, here I can just put the piece, like of course. What is there even to calculate? Maybe I had like, I saw a ghost. Maybe I saw here there is like maybe knight a6. I don't know. I don't know what I saw. I really must say, I have, yeah, maybe I only calculated lines where this rook is moving, but I'm sort of in shock. I don't know. So instead I was like, why would I lose the pawn? I'm just going to defend it. Like, well, I mean, the move makes sense. Defend the pawn. But now he goes c3. And he's going to try to play b4. So I spent a lot of time here. I actually played the best move, but during the game, I did not think it was the best move. I did not think it was the best move. Here, I played bishop d7. I thought this was very clever because the idea was b4, cb, cb, rook a4, rook a4, bishop a4, rook a1, bishop b5, rook a7 check, king e6. Now there is no check. The knight is hanging and the pawn is hanging. And after knight c5, king e5, rook f7, I have a very strong d pawn. My pawn is just going to go. That I actually calculated correctly. What I didn't calculate correctly is he played knight to f4. And this pawn, to me, had to be defended. Either with bishop e6 repeating or bishop c6. And I got scared. I didn't want to play bishop c6 because I realized he can play b4 now. And after cb, cb, rook a4, he has knight takes d5. I can't take because this. And I wasn't so sure what was happening here. I wasn't so sure, and I was not confident about what was happening. So then I started looking at bishop e6 back. And I also looked at c4, which of course just doesn't work because b4, I have to stop guarding my pawn. A move that I swear to you, it didn't even occur to me was that I could push. It didn't even occur to me. Maybe I was afraid. I was afraid of take, b4, rook a4, bishop a4, rook a1. Maybe I was afraid of this. Because now when I back up, I'm in check. My king has to go to the back rank, but I have rook c8. He cannot take my bishop because it's back rank checkmate. Now I go here, and actually my king is totally happy on f8. Maybe I was afraid somehow of letting in his rook to the 7th rank. You know, you see all these stories like rooks on the 7th rank. But actually, this is winning for black because of my pawn. Now, I would have had to see that all the way back when he played knight f4. I would have had to see that whole transformation, how to play rook c8, put my king on the back rank. And yeah, maybe I'm totally capable of doing it. But yeah, and another thing is d4, take, rook d1 looks like I'm simply losing this pawn, but yeah, that's fine. Take the pawn. I take this pawn. Knight c5 check. I just play king e8. Knight c7, maybe we make a draw by repetition, but I can also play king f8. I don't have to make a draw. Instead, I went back to e6. Not because I thought we were going to repeat moves, because I thought it's what I had to do. Now he plays b4. I play rook a6. I didn't surrender myself. I tried to give up a pawn here. I tried to fight back, but he didn't accept the offer. He played knight d3. And now cb, cb. And originally my intention here was to move this rook. But for whatever reason, I was like, I'm not going to move that rook. Instead, I'm going to bring the rook that's not playing to the game with rook c8. But that was also bad. I mean, like most of the decisions were bad. Some were good, some were like, I didn't go rook c6 because I was like, well, then b5, and then I go rook c4, and he's a5, he's going to bring his rook, he's going to promote a pawn. No, that never, no. f4, bishop f5. Like, I'm in time with my counterplay. I'm in time. I mean, this looks scary, but it does look scary, but just rook b8, rook a7, I can come back. Like, I'm in time. Oh, apparently not there. So you see the position is a bit poisonous, but yeah, so CB, I brought this rook. That was wrong. He started improving his position, and I played king e8, and he played rook d1. I played rook c5, defending my pawn, but already at this point, I started realizing, oh, I'm in some trouble. Because I don't know what my next moves are. Like so I went rook b7 because I'm trying to come to the c file. He offers me a trade of rooks. He's trying to take over the c file. I go here. He cuts the communication between my pieces, takes, and I play the only thing that I can think of. I mean, literally, I can't even like create counterplay here because even if I take, I can't get to the pawn. So he completely has me clamped in. I can't move anything. So I play d4 because if he takes, he loses his rook. I have bishop b3 on the way. I have d3 on the way. I'm thinking like, okay, counterplay is incoming. Bishop d5, etc. He plays king e2. I play bishop b3. Originally, I wanted to go bishop d5 here, but I didn't see how I was going to create any counterplay. I was thought about sacrificing the pawn, but he just goes b6 here and b7. And rook c8 check. b7, rook b6, rook c8 check. So nothing is working. Literally nothing is working. King e2, bishop b3. And he just goes king d2, and he's giving me the pawn. And I can't do anything else. The craziest part is, it's already beyond salvation. The final moment of this game where I could have done something better, I could have played rook c4, given up this pawn, because otherwise He's, you know, attacking me for no reason. Then gone back with my rook and kept this position. So it's active defense versus passive defense. I mean, it is instructive, but the point is that now, you know, I have pressure here, and actually I have some movement, and I don't have a central pawn, which is sort of like clogging my arteries. And I can play like rook d7, and actually I'm making some form of a comeback, but just so passive. Just kind of like desperately hanging on, like trying somehow not to lose. It's just, you know, bad psychological sign, and I'm completely lost here. My bishop is totally dominated. He has a one-way ticket to c5, and that's what he did. He just walked the king. I mean, I can't even stop him. I have no counterplay, and he did a nice job converting. Here I tried to, I don't even know what I tried to do, and he won. Because he's queening, and if I go stop it, he goes here, takes, promotes. This game, finally, afterward, I realized, yeah, I'm psychologically pretty rattled. I didn't, like, it didn't really occur to me before this game. I mean, the Barbosa game was, you know, pretty bad already. Like, after 3 losses out of the first 4 games, yeah, that game definitely affected me. This game was sort of a continuation. You can sort of tell, like, I'm trusting my opponent. Like, he plays bishop e3. I'm like, oh my God, what is this, like, genius innovation? You know, I'm not playing my first instincts. My first 2 moves were the top choices of the computer. I ended up playing the way I kind of know you're supposed to play the position. Then here he plays queen h5. I immediately bail out into a slightly worse position instead of playing bishop to e7. Then here, you know, by far the most telling, I volunteer myself for like a semi-tortured endgame where I imagine I can still hold. I do still hold. And then I see the line where I can give up a pawn for activity, and I just do this instead. And yeah, I need a break. It's what I need. You know, I was thinking about this, like, in most competitive environments, especially high stakes, like US Open tennis is going on right now. You lose, that's it. You're knocked out. In fighting, you're literally knocked out. But like in something, that's it. You play really badly, you're knocked out, you get to rest, recover, play the next tournament, practice, train, figure out what went wrong. Here I gotta sit down every single game. Every single game. Like, clearly something's very, very wrong. Both skill-wise and also, as you can see, mentally. And I still gotta play every game. And there's no breaks. So, right now my mindset is I'm gonna look back at this one day and laugh at how bad it once was and how much better it is in the future. But that doesn't stop the fact that this absolutely sucks. And if I'm any inspiration to anybody watching this video right now, like, yeah, this is horrendous. And I'm going to do it all again. Not anytime soon. It's not on my calendar, but I will work much harder the next time. I did not put in the amount of necessary work for this tournament. I got punched in the mouth. And as Mike Tyson said, he said many memorable things. But he said, everybody's got to play until they get punched in the face. I've been punched in the face 5 times now. So we got 3 more games to go in this tournament. That's all I have for you at the moment. Get out of here.